News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, People's Parliament from the National, State and Local Government Assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station.
Ashes were the remains of the bus rapid transits, popularly known as BRT buses, set ablaze by angry soldiers on the verge of avenging the death of their colleague. Attempts to get the views of eyewitnesses at the scene proved a little difficult, but some who agreed to speak had this to say.
It's those army people that comes to do it. When they are asking about the BRT man, and they got that the man has run away. That was why they have to stop those BRT bus and start burning them.
There was issue of an army officer that was knocked down by BRT bus, and as a result of that, they started reacting to that issue. I believe they should be proactive. You know, this is a nation where law exists. So if they have done something like that, government will have stepped into it and know why and what causes it. But the truth is that if individuals have obeyed the law, such incident wouldn't have happened.
From what seemed like a mini war on BRT operators by military officers, the far-reaching effect told on many Nigerians who were conveyed in half-destroyed buses, while others took to trekking in the absence of operations by BRT drivers. On the issue, Governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Raji Fashola, said he is yet to receive a formal report on all that transpired between the military men and BRT operators. But if the allegations prove true, then it would be an irresponsible conduct for the military officers to take laws into their hands.
If buses that citizens are saying are not enough are being set ablaze, I don't know how setting ablaze buses recompenses any injury in any event that you may have suffered. I don't know how damaging public property is restitution for any injury that may have come. But for now, the only thing I can say to you is that when I get the full facts, I will address you and let you know what has happened and what we intend to do and how we intend to go about it.
Following the incidents, many Nigerians could not help but wonder the level of lawlessness in the country, while lamenting the waste of taxpayers' money in a show of anger. Omotayo Alo, Core TV News, Lagos.
It was pandemonium yesterday at Onikpan, Pangrove, Ikorodu axis of Lagos when men of the Nigerian military were allegedly reported to have caused mayhem, unleashing terror on vehicles belonging to what we call the BRT vehicles as a result of a reaction to one of the members that was allegedly knocked down. There's a lot allegedly. There's a lot of things alleged, alleged in this report. Well, earlier on the show, we gave some little background information about what actually transpired. A member of the Nigerian military was allegedly knocked down by a BRT bus, and afterwards, when that person was discovered dead, it ran from that scene, and that was where soldiers came on the scene. Now, the output of all of that, the resultant effect, some papers report has put into about 10 BRT buses that were destroyed and vandalized yesterday. We're going to take comments from our social feeds, and I'm sure you are acquainted with that on Facebook. It's www.facebook.com/Core TV News, and you can also put your comments on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at Core TV News NG, as well as on YouTube. It's trended there. It's youtube.com/Core TV. Leave a space and news. Prior to this time, we're talking about the relationship between the Nigerian military and civilians. But we must not also forget what has transpired recently, with the recent upsurge of insecurity, especially in northern Nigeria. You hear cases of underfunding of the Nigerian army. You hear the Nigerian soldiers saying that there is a mole in our security. They just send us out to the field, and then we don't know how Boko Haram gets to hear that we are coming, and it's just like they sent us there to be slaughtered. There's been this silent, anger that has been growing in that quarters, and I think something, Brownson, has to be done about it. I think we have a feed now from our Facebook. This is coming from Breathwaite Omenta, all the way from Kano. Is it today ordinary civilians had been burning cars that killed someone, even by mistakes? The soldiers were angry. They don't believe in the Nigerian system and wanted to ensure justice was done before the case gets thrown out by the courts. True, anybody could have been angry. Even you yourself could have been if you were in the same position. Well, Brownson,
yeah.
Are we now saying that anger is good reason enough to take laws into your hands? I mean, are we operating a banana republic here?
That's exactly what we've been trying to say. It's very, very wrong to take laws into your own hands. Sometimes you have to allow the law enforcement agency, to play their role. But just like what we said earlier, that most people have really lost faith in
the Nigerian
judicial system, and it sometimes could be very difficult to get justice. We've seen a lot of people, like there are a lot of murder cases, I don't want to start naming, that are still pending. As a matter of fact, some suspects were released sometime last week, and it gives cause for worry. That's why now people feel it's faster and easier to, take action and see how they can get justice by their own self, even though it is wrong. And I think it's something that the Nigerian government generally will have to address. Because
the caller that called us earlier called this a typical Nigerian accident, and he made reference to jungle justice cases. We had one recently from Ikere Ekiti in the past few months. But I mean, are we saying everybody in Nigeria, with law enforcement agents inclusive, have been corrupted by the Nigerian tendency?
As a matter of fact, the truth is, it's sometimes, just like one of the callers said, if you're a uniform man, you are safe. If you're not a uniform man, you're in trouble.
Just a minute, Brownson. We have a message from our Facebook wall. This is from Brown Remy in Abeokuta. BRT buses always feel they are above the law, driving anyhow. This is not the first time they have killed someone. Maybe this will teach them a lesson before more lives are lost by BRT drivers. Now they will be more careful, and those who are controlling them will train them properly. Thank you for your contribution, Brown. Well, there seem to be lots of divides about this matter.
I think what Brown Remy is trying to say is about the attitudes of the drivers, because also he has to do with driving carefully. Sometimes you see these BRT buses coming out of the BRT lanes and, of course, contesting the road. And sometimes, especially at the Ojuelegba Bridge, when you're crossing from that exit, when you're coming through Fadeyi to Ojuelegba, and the link bridge, the way they drive there, it could be scary. Sometimes I was driving, and then a BRT guy was beside me, just didn't want to understand. But at a point, you just have to wait, because, if anything happens...
You have a caller from Lagos.
Okay.
Hello, Pius.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. My comment is this. The BRT drivers, it's like they are products of the former movie buses that they are driving all over. They are not organized. They are not oriented. So they need to have people that at least have some minimal level of education. If you look at the way they drive, I think they drive, they're taking drugs or alcohol. So that's my point. They need to be oriented. They are not driving well. They are products of the former motorways that they were driving all over. Thank you.
Thank you, Pius, for calling. Good to hear from you. Well, seems like what happened yesterday is more of an eye-opening experience, and telling the government what direction to go as regards reorientating drivers of the BRT. We have another comment here on our Facebook wall, in case you want to be a part of it. It's facebook.com/CoTV News. This is Ejiro Simon from Abuja. The military have been given too much power by order from above, and now they're terrorizing the civilians. How can uniformed men act like thugs and touts because of accident that wasn't intentional? So people that praise President Jonathan and condemn Professor Wole Soyinka about deployment of soldiers to Ekiti should comment about this gross civil disturbance by the military. Now the Ekiti, Vijiro is giving us the Ekiti dimension into all of this, the militarization of that process in Ekiti. But one thing that comes to mind, readily is the fact that at what point would you say military intervention will become military intimidation, in Nigeria? At what point, when exactly do we cross that line from intervening and, giving security to civilians and then to radically intimidating civilians in Nigeria?
When it comes to Ekiti election, I think, just like you said, if you look at the background and the constitutional right of military, you see that they have nothing to do with elections. That's jurisdiction of the Nigerian police. But I guess because somehow maybe the government themselves don't even believe in the ability of the police, so
because
they have to deploy military guys.
We're not fighting terrorists.
You are going for an election, and then you are deploying so much military guys, and of course you understand. For every little mistakes, a military guy speak with you with a very good slap. Not a dirty one anyway. So you know what that means. And for someone that wants to cast the vote and you are seeing a lot of military people, I'll keep my voter's card in my pocket. I think it should really be addressed because I think it might also cause voter apathy in the next election.
We have Fatusi Bolaji from Anambra. Illiteracy is a disease. I blamed the government who picked it out on the road, put a uniform on them and tell them to protect the country without quality education or military professionalism training. If such thing happens in developed country, they will lose their job and bag almost 50 years imprisonment for destroying the government properties. Thank you for your comment, Bolaji. We encourage our viewers to be more civil and objective in their contribution. I was with a lawyer some time ago on set, and he was telling me about how he was molested by a military officer. And he said, well, I know my right. I took them to court. As at that time, I think it was 2013. And I was asking him, so what's up with the case? He's been in court since 2008. And then 2013, he was still in court spending much more money. One would question, how much justice do we get from issues like this?
I think it's important for you to also know that it is my opinion that our military guys on uniform are very, very powerful. They are very, very powerful because they go away with a lot of things. It's only in Nigeria you see an army man stopping a civilian. They ask you to roll on the floor in the drainage.
We have a security expert calling us from Lagos. Femi Adegbolu, welcome on the show.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Hello, I can hear you. Please go ahead now with your contribution. Femi, go ahead with the contribution.
I can't hear you.
Hello? Go ahead, Femi.
Give me what is
it? Okay, please just try to call back. We're going to work on that. Getting justice. Soldier beats up people like every other day. It's not alien. It happens, but it will keep happening if nothing's done about it. Bengade Doji is sending us this comment from Lagos. When the army is being constantly called to quell civil issues, this is what happens when we start inviting soldiers for elections. The soldiers start believing they are above the law. Many citizens have been killed and property destroyed by these unprofessional elements. But then the caller that called us earlier says this unprofessional, display is not only peculiar to the Nigerian army, that it is a Nigerian factor.
Like I said, I think it cuts across to all the military personnel, from the Nigerian police to even the Nigerian civil defense. Once you're a military guy, funny enough, you'll be amazed how powerful the last more officials are. That really got nothing to do with security. Some of them don't even pay fares in the bus, but that's not even what we're talking about. But generally, I think our military guys really have to be cautioned. Let's have a very good orientation for these guys, because you just don't treat civilians anyhow. They are humans. The only difference, because you're a military guy and this other person, but we are all Nigerians. If you are protecting the interests of the country, you should do that with how do I put it? You should do that with respect, because I think it's a privilege. Until you understand that it's a privilege putting on any of those uniforms you have on you, they would never change. And coming back to what one of the callers said, you know, that some of these BRT drivers are like a replacement of the Molue bus. It reminds me of what Fela sang in the song, 44 sitting, 99 standing. It's almost the same thing we get in BRT. But however, some of these drivers sometimes they've made things easy for them. They don't carry bottles around. They don't carry sachet. That sachet, if you know what that means, when they drive to a point, they just open it and then sip it a little, and for them they'll tell you to help them to see the road clearly, and you can imagine how that can endanger one's life. So I think Lagos State government really have a whole lot of things to do, you know, making sure that they employ the right people to man these buses.
And one would think that given the traffic, you know, situation we have in Lagos, the BRT, no doubt, very brilliant innovation that ultimately possibly will see less private vehicles on our roads if we maintain it well, if it's a system of order, if it has an impeccable maintenance, you know, that can stand with world best practices. You can put your vehicle at home. I mean, even an AC you want. You know, we can have BRT with ACs that are not overcrowded. Unfortunately, if we're tolling this path already, it might not be a perfect replacement, you know, that is causing the too many vehicles we have on our roads.
I think Lagos State Governor explained everything. As it is, the Lagos population keep growing by the year, by the day, and the buses are not even enough. Not to talk of, you know, sometimes, like for instance, maybe you should go to CMS one of those days, and from 5 p.m. you can't imagine the crowd you see queuing up to get tickets coming back to the mainland, and sometimes you queue for hours. You get.
I took one earlier in Begum. It was a scene. It was a crowd.
So I think we need more buses. For me to be able to drop my car home and take BRT bus, I need to be sure that when I get to.
Unfortunately, we just have 10 out of the ones we have burnt now.
Burnt, and that's to tell you, okay, if they had plans of bringing more 20, now you have to bring in 10 to replace the current one we have. It's a very big worry.
We have a viewer sending us a Facebook comment from Judge Camel. This should remind us that we are still in a very primitive society. Hence, our numerous problems and challenges are not unexpected. In short, there is nothing to suggest that we're developing or moving forward. Thank you, Camel, for your comment. But the question now is, who takes responsibility for what happens? Is this going to be another issue that we just get to talk about and then it dies? Because as we speak now, even the Nigerian military is not taking responsibility. Nobody is accountable. A spokesperson by the name Oge on the Nigerian Punch is saying, and I'm quoting him, when things like this happen, you will hear different versions. But I can tell you that soldiers did not burn the buses. It's possible that some area boys carried out the act. No one was harassed by soldiers. We only stopped some people who were taking pictures and wanting to film the area. End of quote.
In fact, I think you already have the answer. You were there. You were there. You were there at the scene. At the scene of the accident.
To be frank with you, I wasn't there when soldiers were burning the buses.
Okay.
I'm not sure that any journalist caught it on camera. Of course, there may be, while a uniformed person was burning the buses. But then there were eyewitnesses there who had no reason to lie. There were people who were sailing around that area. We got a few of them. We got one of them on the screen. Out of many of them who were, you know, scared to talk. Well, the young lady who was selling by the side said they were men in uniform, except we are saying that area boys now also, apart from Boko Haram members, have access to khaki uniforms.
Anyway, I think you should also know that some area boys wear uniform, but the green and white thing. But I'm sure it's not that kind of uniform that we are talking about. In this kind of situation, I think for me, maybe after this weekend, the whole thing would die down because, just like I said, the military guys, they've already stated their disclaimer. They said they don't know about the burning of the buses. And Lagos State government, I don't know who they want to investigate when they don't even have a name of any military guy involved. And if they're going to speak, you know, the military system runs a central system. If you want to speak to anyone, it has to be their spokesperson, which I think is in Abuja. So the whole process will take time and will just fizzle out, just like other cases we've seen.
Joy is sending us a message from Benin. Nigerian soldiers that cannot defeat Boko Haram are now making gira-gira in Lagos. Shame on them. No wonder people don't respect the army. The best regard many have for them is like the regard a man will have for a snake. He hates the snake, but would rather ignore it so as not to be its victim. Very sad that we have a Nigerian saying that.
I think that's that's the best way to explain it. Of course, you hate the snake, but sometimes you just can't go close to it because you know what it can do to you.
This military-civilian relationship, one would ask the question, what is the responsibility of Nigerians? Don't you think that we're too laid back, we're too much aggressive, we try to paint the military in bad name, possibly we're not giving them the moral support they need, especially at this critical time when they're fighting terrorism in northern Nigeria.
There's something you can't take away from Nigerians. Nigerians attack, they take issues the way it is. If the military guys are friendly to civilians, they'll say it the way it is.
Can't we extend the olive branch first?
How do you do that?
Love, you salute the soldier man, you respect them, you appreciate
now,
them.
What's the guarantee that if you throw a salute to a military man, you will not roll on the floor? Because you're not uniform personnel. That's the orientation we're talking about. You need to see how these guys have been treated. Now, let me tell you what happened sometimes at Oshodi Apapa Expressway. A military guy was in the car, drive dropped, and suddenly he started, looking for some kind of attention. I don't understand, because they feel sometimes when they're driving, they should own the road. When you see them with their car, even when it's not a branded vehicle, you should, give them some level of respect, even on the highway that everyone has equal right to.
Even civilians now have soldiers stamp on their vehicles to scare people away.
That's it. You see Navy, Army everywhere, military zone, keep off, all those things. I think it has to do with so much power that I don't know if it's constitutional that the military guys feel they have. Even, especially, like I said earlier, especially the younger personnel, the way they react once they have been given uniform and confirmed, their reactions is really nothing to write home about.
Well, Justice Ophili from Festac, why are abnormalities the norms in the black man's annals? Are these soldiers under the command of a superior officer? If yes, why hasn't that officer taken control of the situation by now? That means that officer supports the action of the soldiers. The next question is, what is he still doing in his present position? Big question. Big question. Doesn't sound like a question I can answer. But then, this idea, this school of thoughts that we have, that soldiers are not your friend, you don't get close to them. I think it has also, inspired the kind of attitude that we have towards men in military. The provocation at times that civilians give to them. A soldier man stops you, and then the way you are dressing, the way you talk, the way you look down on him. Don't you think that Nigerians should embrace some more lifestyle of respect to the uniform?
Apart from, I think Nigerians generally respect any uniform man, because we know if you don't respect a uniform man, we know what you get.
At least you respect the arms.
You respect their arms and then everything. But overall, I think we should have genuine respect for them. They should earn their respect, not forcing them. But overall, Nifemi, I think if you look at this whole accident thing, because the reports we got said that the soldier didn't die just immediately. That probably if he was rushed to the hospital, he could have survived.
Just hold your thought a minute.
Okay.
Don't forget that, Brownson. Kyle Duro is calling from Lagos. I don't blame the soldiers that perpetrated this act. I blame the system, the government, the institution of state that has failed the people and rendered the Nigerian police useless. And that sounds like what I saw somewhere on this paper where he was talking about. He said one of the policemen who was at the scene confirmed the incident to our correspondent, that's on the Nigerian Punch. And I'm going to quote this policeman. Quite funny. As you can see, we even had to call our commissioner to plead with the soldiers to release our colleague's phone. He's there begging them. End of quote. It seems like in Nigeria, police are subservient to army. I mean, we're talking about dealing with internal security here, which is supposed to be the primary responsibility of the Nigerian police force.
Of course, it is not the first time we hear that Nigerian police and army have clash, and I think somehow Nigerian police, they know their boundaries. They know when it comes to these military guys, we can't stand them. So they have this special respect for them, and I really think it's really not good, because they're supposed to work together as a unit, in protecting security. But coming back to what the point I was trying to drive home is the fact that, rather than, I think Nigerians, Lagosians, everywhere in the country has to be educated that in an accident scene, and I think the military as well, if someone tries to save an accident victim, rather than turning the person into another victim, well, we should learn to, because if we don't put these things right, we'll keep losing souls by the day. For instance, if I see someone on the streets bleeding, I should be able to take this person to the hospital and walk to my home peacefully without being arrested. You know, if you see an accident victim, you should be able to, do something about it without falling victim. If these things are not being addressed, because sometimes, especially...
We have a call, Brassen.
Okay.
This is Jide from Lagos. Hello, Jide.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Call Digest.
Yes. You could see what the military did in Lagos yesterday. You could see what happened, what they did in Lagos yesterday. When I told you during the time of the state election that military presence in the state will create fear instead of growth, you have seen what is happening now. You can see. We are looking at the military at the polling booth. It's enough fear for people to stay at home, for people not to come out to vote at all. And you can see now, we have seen that it is their normal thing. People, military are people that come out in the time of war, not in the civic environment. So it's now seeing what they are forced now in Lagos. I pray God will direct this country and God will lead us aright. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jide, for your contribution. Good to hear from you. One would wonder, browsing, what could be responsible for the attitude, the alleged attitude of these military men. Could they be as there was a time a few years ago when they were talking about a pay raise for men of the Nigerian military. Of course, NMA is on strike now. They want, if you read the requirements, the needs of the NMA, you'll be surprised. Colin White is sending this from Ibadan. Nigerian soldier has no important role to play in nation building anymore. Chibok girls are there. They cannot rescue them. I think this is the right time to eradicate Nigerian military. Morally, the Boy Scouts is better than them. Colin White, that's very, very funny of you.
I think that's harsh anyway.
Kind of harsh. But if doctors are asking for a pay raise, and then they're going on strike, possibly we should also be talking about what is the quality of the welfare provided to men in uniform. In developed climes, these are well celebrated heroes because they are the one who fought for the freedom, of the sovereignty that we have now, the territorial integrity that they're protecting. They fought for it, and they have the primary responsibility of keeping the status quo, and they're doing that with their very life. Attention, I believe, should be turned. A new page should be opened in the welfare of the Nigerian military.
Now, if you look at the 2014 budget, look at the recurrent budget has more than the capital budget, which it's almost becoming a norm in Nigerian budget system. And if you look at the money allocated to security, you see that among every sector, security had the largest.
We took close to 1/4
of the budget.
2014 budget.
And now the question is, where is the money going to? Now, the Boko Haram issue is still on ground. It has not been resolved. Gone are those days where the military guys will come out and say the military guys are more armed than us because Nigerian government have been able to shut them down. Look, we've given you guys money. Get as much weapon as you can. And also, the money is just too much. It's still much for them to be able to take care of their welfare. Where's the money going to? I think the people at the top of the military circuit should really answer some of these questions.
Okay. I think Latif is calling us again. Hello, Latif. Hello, Latif.
I just want to have something to what you've been discussing there, because this is very sensitive issue that has to do with our economy and our future. Incident to Ebola from I think around different civilizations understand please, I want to see what happens to something.
I'm afraid that we had a poor quality communication with Latif, but thank you anyways for calling us again. This issue is far becoming one issue that every Nigerian is talking about, the relationship that pre-exists before now between civilians and soldiers, and what happened yesterday, how would it impact on the future of that relationship. This is Nusa Isaac from Oka. Let's be truthful to ourselves. This kind of behavior did not start today. It's been there. Do you remember how soldiers dealt with Fela? That's who we are. I'm not surprised at all. In short, it will happen again. Do you see it happening again?
In Nigeria, you never can tell. Anything is possible, but we really hope such things do not happen again. But for it not to happen again, everybody has to be involved. Now, we have to be careful about our environment. You know, when you're on the highway, you have to be very careful as well. I think it's very strict for us to also, bring this in the minds. I think we are hearing about this because a military man was involved. Now, there have been series of cases that does not involve military guys, that doesn't come to the limelight. All right. So, if the government have said, okay, on this kind of highway, we don't want bikes on these roads. I think it should be respected. There are some roads as well in Lagos that are not allowed, that tricycle riders are not allowed. So these things, law enforcement agents should, whether you're a military man or not, you should be able to respect the rule of law. If this is what the state wants, it should be respected. And when this is done, we can be sure that we will not have this kind of incidents anymore.
Amnesty International have been crying foul as regards infringement of human rights in northern Nigeria from the Nigerian military. And unfortunately, if what happened yesterday was true, if what the members of the Nigerian military were alleged to do was true, then this, of course, will add more facts to what Amnesty is talking about, that if a group of soldiers could get angry because one of their colleagues was knocked down by a BRT bus, then you can tell what the reaction will be to the local people in northern Nigeria, where a lot more of their members are becoming victims of the ongoing fight against terrorism. And it's sad. A bloody civilian, in quotes, like me, what the military will call, civilians, will think that this anger should be towards members of the, of the terrorist group, but not the civilians. The challenge also has been, what makes this fight against terrorism peculiar in Nigeria is the ability to distinguish between who the terrorist is and who the civilian is. One of the recent victims that was arrested was camouflaged as a member of the JTF, civilian JTF, as it is known. You heard stories of some 3 women also who were arrested. And in this very peculiar situation, we need a well-coordinated, a well-behaved military that will be able to do an X-ray so that there won't be injustice in the light. Oba Alakija is saying this from Unical. This barbaric behavior is not peculiar to soldiers. It's in most of us. It usually manifests during periods of stress where normal human beings will stop, think, analyze the situation, and then react appropriately. But our kind of people will completely decompensate and behave as if their brain does not function normally. Nigerians are frustrated. What do you agree with, Alakija?
Yeah, I think gradually Nigerians are beginning to be frustrated with Nigerian military, and you can imagine what that means if an ordinary man feels like these guys are not our friends, and we can get close to them, and you're not even comfortable with their style of operations. It tells a whole lot of things, and I'm not frustrated, but I still believe in our military force, and especially the Nigerian police, and hoping that someday things would go right. But the most important thing is for us to know how to handle people. For the fact that people don't wear uniform doesn't mean that they're lesser than you. I think they also have to get that stick to their head that it's a privilege. It's just like a Super Eagles player putting on a green and white, representing the over,
about 150 million.
150 million we have right now. It's a privilege. So it shouldn't be abused because the military guys, another question I'll ask is that military acts on them, obey the last order. The attack yesterday, who ordered them out? Who gave them arms to come out? These are some of the things that I think that the Lagos State government should be investigating.
Shegun Adekoya from Ibadan. The soldiers are so arrogant and lawless. If you ever witnessed the way they used to behave toward a civilian, you'll be wondering whether they are human beings or animals. The driver that caused the accident should be penalized. The soldiers that vandalized people's property should be sanctioned, as well as by competent authority and institution. We should not take laws into our hands. Okay, you also can join the discussion. The phone line is flashing on the screen as we begin to round up. Facebook.com/CoreTV News, as well as on Twitter at CoreTV News. And you would love to hear from you. As we begin to round up now, Brownsy, the question is, what way forward? The last tweet, the one we had before this from Facebook, was talking about a frustrated people. I mean, Africans, especially Nigerians, at the point in time we were, called the happiest people in the world, irrespective of the challenges we're going through. How should we as a people react to situations, even if it is under a frustrated situation? Someone said life is 90% of attitude, how you react to something, and 10% of what actually happens to you. One would think that Nigeria, at this point in time, at our 100th year of existence as a nation, we should have grown to that point in time where we react as a patriotic, Nigerian, rather than reacting to issues as they were.
Now, the way you react sometimes depends on what you expect. Now, I think that has to do with our judiciary. Now, if I have so much faith in our judiciary...
Just a minute, we have a caller.
Okay.
Abdul from Abuja.
I'm still connecting now. Hello, good morning.
Go ahead. Abdul, we are with you.
Good morning. Yeah, thanks for your program. You see, the issue of military, the issue of soldiers, especially the soldiers in Nigeria, is quite embarrassing. It's quite embarrassing. If you see the way a manner of infiltrated military men in the street of Nigeria, even during the Abacha era, we don't have that much, to be frank. If you see what military guys, the navies are doing in Abuja here, simply because environmental want to keep Abuja clean, they go out with Navy officers, embarrassed and humiliating ordinary taxi driver in the city of Abuja here. So it's high time. Nigerian government are asking military men to go back to the barrack where they belong to. I'm a product of the barrack. My father happened to be an army officer. In those days, you hardly see a military on the street of Nigeria. You see them only when the need arrives. But today, somebody had a misunderstanding with his wife. The next person that will come to your house will be the army man. He's here to get the matter between you and your wife. I think it's high time. It's high time we'll let the police there. Because like somebody said, they have rendered the police useless. People don't longer see the police as even the one to police our society. You travel from all the length and breadth of this country. You see all the roadblock is stronger than military. So you see a military man catching 20 naira, right? Doesn't care who is even what you have as a content of the vehicle. All the care is for it. You just give me 20 naira and you're free to. If you see what is happening, this guy shows that we have $200 in some for it. Over 2 months today, and nothing has been done there. Because this morning, the latest development is that they are coming to Chibok. Now, no military man, will tell you that I don't know what he's doing there. Those guys who keep telling us all and those stories, they tell me there's already 3 females who are about to I tend to lead it to Sambisa where I'm going to rely with their cohort. After that, I speak with you. In Chibok, you go to Chibok, you hardly find a president of military men. And we're told that over 20,000 military men have been sent to Sambisa to Maiduguri. You know what happened last week in Monday market. So please, it is high time we ask the military men to go back. Because this map has been the military men are not meant to mount a skill with our society. They are there to protect our intent in what they call the territorial integrity of this country. So it is high time, please. Otherwise, I think we are ahead of democracy because we are overexposing our democracy to the military guys. And second, the so-called the state minister for defense, professional. You see, hardly anything Obamacare has been abused. That guy should leave that office with the military guy because he's part of the thing. After they get stupid too, nobody has been responsible for the chairman. Because the governor, the chairman and the mayor. It's a public office holder, elected governor, and some military guys embarrass them, and after they nothing out of that. So please, it is high time we ask the military to get back to that.
It's all right, Abdul.
Like each of the ladies we have criminals killing our commonwealth every day, and then
Good to hear from you, Abdul. And good to hear from every other person who have joined us on the show today. It's been a reaction as regards what transpired in Lagos yesterday, and the discussion continues on our social media feeds that you will get intimate with very shortly. I believe, Brownson, that there's a clarion call on all the stakeholders as we begin to, hear more clearer versions of the story, allegations against the military, against BRT drivers. But I think that much more than that is a clarion call on Nigerians, on security agencies, on government, and every other person to ensure that we have a sane society, a society that is devoid of rancor. You don't go out in the morning and then, for 6 hours, you are in a traffic gridlock because somebody who is supposed to enforce law is breaking it.
That's it. And of course, I think it's very important for all the military guys, men in uniform, to know that they're not above the law. They should respect the rule of law, and of course, also to be cautious about ourselves. We should care for one another. If you see someone, any accident victim, or anyone you can help on the street, please do your best. Take responsibility to help. And also, it's also very important for the military guys to also understand that for us to save life in this country, we really have to, join hands together. If someone is rescuing someone, it shouldn't be penalized or punished for trying to help someone. And also, I think the justice system should be put in place so that, people will not take laws in their hands. If I'm sure that going to court will give me justice, I wouldn't take laws in my hands.
Clarence call on everyone. That's our show this Saturday. Thank you for watching. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.
And I am Brownson Uwana. Thank you so much for being there. We'll be back again tomorrow from 12 p.m. to 2 o'clock. Do join us then and have a wonderful day.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.